67% of IT projects tend to fail all the time.
Sometimes people get a tool that they think is going to solve their problems.
Yeah.
And because they bought it and they already have it, they just kind of stick to it. And maybe it just wasn't the right solution to begin with.
Yeah. IT projects basically never fail. It's actually the establishment of completely unpredictable circumstances that make it impossible to deliver what people often think they're going to get.
So IT projects
Do you like
don't
it?
fail.
Nope. Failure is a state of mind.
Get philosophical about that.
I know.
Yeah, no, it's a tricky one. So maybe what are the key ingredients for
I think
a
it's
success in an IT project?
particularly. So yeah, let's make. It's not a. We're not talking about failure to build a bridge, for example. We're talking about failure for an IT project. So, I do think, the last decade or two has clearly established that a focus on predictability and precision in trying to determine an outcome in an environment which is volatile is crazy. And that's why waterfall has gone out of fashion.
Totally.
But the problem we have is that we still engage in a supplier-customer sort of relationship with a bit of waterfall orientation wrapped around it. And it's very difficult with financial models behind it to say, yeah, it might cost this, it might cost that, we don't know.
But what's so different between building a house and building an IT project? Why you can't just have the blueprint, knowing exactly where the windows go and just get it done?
The house one is actually quite interesting. I think the problem with the house analogy is that knocking down the first floor and starting again could be harder, worse, longer, more complicated than maybe deleting some code and starting again. And I think that's part of it. It's not the only part of it, but it is part of it.
But if you extrapolate that as whenever you build a solution, your code is geared towards a particular architecture, and then you suddenly just change that,
Yeah.
the cost is actually pretty high.
Yeah.
Because it will involve regression like all over the place.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yes, you're talking about like demolishing a wall, but also not a poor architecture where you can adapt to change that come from different angles are similar, but the relative costs of doing that in both environments is quite comparative.
But I guess the question is, why do you need to break the floor? Why do you need to change the code? And I think the analogy with the house is, we've lived our entire life in houses. We know where is the floor, we know where's the bathroom, we know what is a bathroom, we know what to expect from a bathroom. Same with the kitchen, same with your living room. So it's completely, we entirely formatted to know exactly how to design our dream house. So when it comes to software, it's like asking a 2-year-old design a house. The maturity in terms of requirement, what you need for your business has nothing comparable with something like a house or a bridge or anything that has been on and on for centuries. The business is always changing, and what happens is a customer might think, that's what I need today. I need my invoicing sorted, I need my HR process sorted. And when what we find out is, as soon as they see on the screen how it looks like and they start using it, they're like, hold on. That's not right. That's not the way I use it. Or they formulate requirements on behalf of their users. So they think their team's working this way, but that's not the way they work.
Yeah.
And that's where the experiment, the empirical experience of software help design the software, which is very different to any type of architecture or that type of project.
Yeah. It's creative and it's inherently changeable. I think that's the problem. And I mean, that you raise a good point. Building a house is maybe more complicated than complex because you can largely predict based upon a design up front. And it might be a design up front that still allows you to move to some extent, but it's unlikely that you're going to completely change your mind and say you want all the chimneys on the ground floor and you want the basement on the roof next week.
Yep.
But depending on circumstances in in business or technology advancement. You might do that in a software project.
So the biggest moving parts, I think, are internal, knowing exactly your internal process, and as you mentioned, the environment. You're selling this type of product today, but within 3 months, you might sell something totally different.
Yeah.
So as you elaborate your software, you need to adapt. Yeah.